we'll start with just a few reflections from the senior monks in the community here. And Luang Por started last night with his Saturday night talk and opening comments about Satipaṭṭhāna, the theme for this winter retreat. So I thought I'd just offer a few thoughts about that along that theme, more of a kind of an overview or a general survey of the Satipaṭṭhāna and how it can be used in our contemplative practice. I guess I could just sort of phrase it or rephrase it with just assuming or pretending that somebody asked the question, what is Satipaṭṭhāna anyway? So, I think as far as teachings go, I think one could consider the Satipaṭṭhāna as a very comprehensive set of reflective themes that one can engage with as a way of developing sammasati, right mindfulness. And it seems to me that in some ways the current use of the word sati, as Luang Por was referring to last night, the current way it's being used in the world around us and meditative circles and more of the self-help kind of frames of reference. As useful as it is, and it really is, doing some good things in the world, bringing, the whole mindfulness movement and everything. It's really offering some very good supports for people. But the way that it's being used in contemporary society is, I think, unfortunately quite limiting and limited. Many of you know Beth Steff, who was a long-term resident here in this community for many years, and she pulled together a book called More Than Mindfulness, which kind of brought that theme to the fore, exploring beyond the usual parameters that the theme of mindfulness is explored in, using many talks from members of this community and the greater Ajahn Chah community. So I think, to me, that's what Satipaṭṭhāna is, a very comprehensive part of the path. It really forms the shape of the contemplative aspect of our path. Of course, in conjunction with right effort and right samadhi, samma samadhi, they form that theme. So, the current use of the term sati as this form of in the moment, basically the bare attention of anything that's arising, a very kind of passive observation of what is happening in the mind is the current use. But when you really look at the Satipaṭṭhāna, and I assume that most of you who are at least in this room have at least done some reading from the two suttas that go into detail, the Satipaṭṭhāna Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, number 10, and then I can't remember the number in the Digha Nikaya for the Mahasatipaṭṭhāna Sutta, which is more or less the same thing, but greatly expanded in detail in some of the areas, and well worth a read for some good definition of useful terms if you haven't looked at the expanded version in the long discourses. But if you really look at that and think about that carefully, then you'll see that there's quite a few contemplative themes that are grouped into 4 different categories in the Satipaṭṭhāna. And all of them are very useful, very valid kinds of contemplations that are expanded on in various parts of the teachings in the suttas, all throughout the canon. So it's a wide collection of themes. And one could say that there's sort of a what am I trying to think? Sort of a way of holding a number of terms in contemporary practice and contemporary teachings that I think have been kind of modified and changed and altered from some of the original teachings to suit particular inclinations in terms of the contemplative practice. All of you have probably heard many of these terms and may or may not be confused about what seems like some of the seeming contradictions in the use of the terms and the qualities that they're intended to portray. So we have terms like samatha and vipassana, and sati and sampajanya and samadhi, and all of these terms are used in different ways by different people, which can be, at least I found, and particularly in my early days, quite confusing. And the meditation techniques that derive from them, the reflections and the ways of developing the contemplative side of practice have taken many different forms, and many of those teachers of those different forms are taking these terms and using them in their own particular way. So you hear of one teacher using the term vipassana to mean one thing, and another teacher using the term vipassana to mean something that sounds quite different. And the same with samatha and samadhi and even sati, mindfulness. So a lot of times I think people get quite confused. What does this all mean? And get confused by what seem like some of the contradictions. So oftentimes you see the qualities of samatha and vipassana used in different ways. So the term vipassana, oftentimes many people have had teachings, say, from the Goenka tradition, and actually they use the term vipassana meditation. What we do is vipassana. This is what vipassana is, as a form of meditation with a very codified set of instructions, and that's what vipassana meditation is. Other places, other traditions coming from different countries will use the term vipassana to mean a different kind of reflection that is specifically geared towards, say, developing insight in terms, but also using specific meditation techniques. Things like noting, strategies in some of the Burmese techniques, and other ways of using, other ways of developing a technique of vipassana meditation. And then you'll have the use of the word samatha, which generally can be translated as tranquility meditation or calming meditation. And that term, samatha, is often conflated and equalized with the term samadhi. So you develop samatha, which is basically developing the same thing as samadhi, which is a very concentrated state of mind, peaceful, concentrated, tranquil, settled state of mind. And then the vipassana is often associated with or conflated with sati. You practice sati, you have a neutral, opened, choiceless awareness kind of mind, which is what people call sati, and that's what you develop vipassana from. So these terms have become associated, conflated in a way with each other: sati and vipassana, samatha and samadhi, and I think to me, there's been kind of a re-looking at this from many different standpoints, from many different teachers. And I would say, I think particularly within the Thai forest tradition, you're seeing a growing number of teachers. And when Paul was referring to this way of holding these terms last night to some extent, but kind of reinterpreting them more in terms of going back to the original suttas to really explore, and from a contemplative viewpoint. And it's been really great because it's just really been in the last number of decades that we've had some really good translations of the suttas from Westerners by Western teachers who are practitioners themselves, not just scholars. And there's been a lot of refinement and consideration and reflection and reframing, I think, of these terms that have made it a lot more comprehensible and usable and realistic in my mind. So, what you're going to hear from me is sort of my synthesis of it, which is, of course, going to be colored by my own practice biases and what works for me. And so just take it as a theme for reflection rather than any kind of definition of truth, for sure. But the way I kind of see these terms applied in a very useful, purposeful way is that the Satipaṭṭhāna themes, the themes that you see within that sutta as outlined in those four establishings of mindfulness, and that's a way of phrasing it or defining it that I prefer myself. The four foundations of mindfulness is the most common one that we see. Four establishings of mindfulness, or the four establishments of mindfulness, is one that is an alternative. Ajahn Jeff, as Lumpah mentioned last night, he uses the term the four frames of reference, which I think is quite functionally very useful as well. I think there are other translations of it, but those are the ones that come to mind. But the contemplations of divided into four categories: contemplations of body, feelings, chitta, mind itself, and various Dhamma themes, which I'm going to maybe just spend a little bit of time reviewing as an overall survey. So what we'd start with is that as a contemplative structure, the four Satipaṭṭhāna. And in the best I can tell, in pretty much any one of those many themes that come up in the four Satipaṭṭhāna, one can, and it's pretty explicit in the way that the sutta unfolds. One develops both samatha and vipassana from contemplating any one of those themes of mindfulness, whether it's contemplations of the body, contemplations of feeling tone, various aspects of the mind, and then all of the reflections in the fourth Satipaṭṭhāna. You can use any one of those. If anyone particularly strikes a note with yourself, you can use them to develop both the qualities of samatha and vipassana, the qualities of calm and insight, in a sense, are probably one of the best sets of translations. So the samatha and vipassana, as it appears in the suttas, aren't really techniques, but they are qualities that are developed based on picking up a Satipaṭṭhāna theme. So, of course, mindfulness of breathing is one of the most common ones and a go-to for most of us at some point in our practice. But the richness and variety of other contemplative themes can be used for the development of both calm and insight. And then with that development of both samatha and vipassana from any one of these themes, the mind starts to gather. If one it uses the qualities of atapi, sampajano, and satima, alert. Those words being alert, ardent, alert, and mindful, or ardent, clearly comprehending, and mindful, bringing those qualities to apply in any one of these contemplations. Over time, as the calm aspect of the reflection starts to develop and the mind settles, pulls together, becomes less distracted, and certain insights start to coalesce. Insights, of course, along the lines of anicca, dukkha, anatta being kind of the primary ones, but also many other insights of different categories arising, such as the disadvantages of sensuality and the distorting perceptions that we can all have, and the ways that the mind tells us things that are untrue. Developing insight into all of these physical and mental qualities that we take so much for granted. This combination of calming and clear seeing starts to coalesce into a very gathered, composed, collected state of mind that is both very settled and calm and pure, and also very alert and awake and non-distracted. And to me, this is what samadhi, the term samadhi, refers to. So oftentimes we hear the term samadhi, translated as concentrated or concentration. And as Luang Por often says, refers to, the term concentration is really a, not such a great translation. It has this implication, or this, the implication of something that's very small, very narrow, very limited in a way. And the experience of samadhi, as described by many of the teachers, more contemporary teachers in our tradition, is actually just the opposite. Samma samadhi, real, true samadhi that's in tune with the full development of the path. Is often described as a very broad, open, inclusive rather than exclusive state of mind that is not only pure and clean in a sense and undistracted, but also aware and open. This is where the sampajanya comes in, open, alert, as suitable to the suitability of the theme that's being contemplated, and open for insight as well. So samadhi as being a very like better words maybe like composure or collectedness, are very useful ways, I think, of retranslating it. And that's composure is kind of my go-to, but collectedness is often used, or the firm establishing of the mind sometimes is used in the Thai tradition, rather than the term concentrated. So concentrated is so much in the lexicon of Buddhist vocabulary now that that's what you're going to probably hear for at least the next few decades, if not the rest of our lives. But you might start hearing more references to composure, full composure, or collectedness, those kinds of more broad, inclusive states of mind. When I think of concentration, I think of when I was a kid in grade school, and I was very hyperactive in a lot of ways and very distracted, and I can just really hear my teachers saying, Tommy, you need to get more concentrated. Sit down, look at your work, and concentrate. And the sense of uptightness and tension that I would feel from that. So that's what concentration feels like to me. Or you think of like a concentrated detergent or a bleach solution where you're stuffing a whole lot of something into a very small space. is kind of the tone that concentration gives to me. But I think that redefining the term so that it's something that you actually want to experience is extremely pleasurable, extremely enjoyable when you kind of take the restraints off of it and allow it to be a broader perspective, a broader experience of enjoyment, of a combination of both stillness and clarity, and something that is easeful and enjoyable rather than a chore. And just even the terms things like doing samadhi kind of really put a lot of tension into it. So that you have and then with the further development of the theme of contemplation that you're taking up, the samatha will support the development of the vipassana, the calm and the insight, and vice versa. The contemplation and insight that develops in terms of the way things are is a very soothing, peaceful, stilling, leading always towards that kind of stillness, calmness. And they work with each other. And the Buddha is very clear that those are two qualities that should be developed in tandem with each other. If one is stronger than the other, then the Buddha instructs someone, the practitioner, to go and seek someone who can teach them how to bring forth the other quality that's not as well developed, to bring it up to parity. And then the two of them together support, grow, and that the mind just starts to coalesce into more of a unity of mind, a unity of energy, a unity of purpose, and a unification of the body, mind, and the energy systems within it. So you have the term like ekaggata, often translated as one-pointed, but I find myself gravitating more towards like using the term unwavering, because one-pointed kind of pulls you right back to that extremely narrow focus, and I think it's legitimate to say, okay, well, maybe more like singleness of purpose is. Oftentimes, I think I've heard Ajahn Jeff use that as a translation of ekaggata, singleness of purpose, not a single pointed focus for your meditation, say, on a small spot, but kind of an unwavering devotion to whatever the theme is that you've picked up, the Satipaṭṭhāna theme that you've picked up. Unwavering. And then instead of concentration for samadhi, maybe something more like composure. So instead of one-pointed concentration, you have unwavering composure. And, for me, that just sounds a whole lot more inviting. But this is where the Satipaṭṭhāna starts, is you have these contemplative themes to develop all of these qualities. And then when that samadhi, that unwavering composure, starts to coalesce around a particular theme, then what the Buddha, I think, terms as knowledge and vision of the way things are starts to emerge. You're seeing very clearly the appearances of the world as they manifest, as the conditioned realm emerges and starts to unfold along all of the lines of the experiences of body and mind, and we start to see them in a clear, accurate light, rather than in the kind of illusionary world that most of us live in most of the time, always seeking some sort of happiness within the conditioned world around us. We start to see the limits of that by seeing clearly. And when the shortcomings of that way of contemplation start to manifest and we start to experience the limited quality of the world that we've created for ourselves, this sense of disenchantment will come up and start to arise. No longer disenchantment being, no longer fooled, no longer enchanted by the world around us. We see clearly from this development of the mind through these themes, we see clearly the ways, the illusionary ways that we seek gratification from the world around us. And we just don't have this inclination to do it anymore because we're seeing through it and the fruitlessness of it in the long run. Temporary gratification, yes, but long-term happiness, it's not there in the worldly pursuits. And with that disenchantment, that clear seeing, this sense of dispassion for the world arises, and the qualities that the Buddha talks about as progressing on, this dispassion turning away from the conditioned realm allows us to have a glimpse in the beginning and then a stronger foundation in the fruits of the practice of cessation, relinquishment, and the experience of the unconditioned. But it all starts with this Satipaṭṭhāna, choosing your themes and really developing them, and more than just one theme for most of us, developing a full-scale appreciation and development of the themes that can be found in the Satipaṭṭhāna. So this is how I see it all fitting into a whole, rather than the separate schools of samatha to develop concentration and vipassana to develop insight. And you need both of them, but they're often treated as very separate things. But it just seems to me to make more sense as described in the, and I think it's really evident within the structure of the Satipaṭṭhāna that these qualities emerge from this full set of themes of Satipaṭṭhāna. Probably we could find some other contemplations that are often recommended, definitely so, that aren't included in the Satipaṭṭhāna, but many times they can be found in some sort of form or another. Themes like the Brahma Viharas and some of the recollections that Paul referred to last night, the 6 recollections of Buddha, Dhamma, Sangha, Chaga, Sila, and Deva Nusatis. Not necessarily specifically mentioned in Satipaṭṭhāna, but all very useful, supportive, contemplative themes. So such a wide variety of very rich themes, which is why we chose to make that the theme for the winter retreat. So just to review fairly quickly the various themes within the 4 Satipaṭṭhānas that we'll probably be touching on over the next 3 months, maybe some more in detail than others, doing readings to develop these contemplative themes. The first foundation of mindfulness, or the first establishing of mindfulness, the kaya nupassana, or the contemplation of the body, forms a very, very significant part of the Satipaṭṭhāna. And this is where you'll see the Anapanasati theme emerge. That's one of the contemplations found in the Kaya Nupassana, and very potent contemplative exercise, very well developed in the Anapanasati Sutta. I'm sure there'll be some references to that over the next few months. But also, not just limited to that, but more of the themes, say, around the 4 postures as a contemplative theme, the clear awareness or sampajanya related particularly to bodily activities, the 4 elements contemplations, seeing our experience through the lens of the 4 elements, One of my favorite go-tos of the asubha practices, the unattractiveness of the body, or really more specifically the 32 parts of the body, which is, I think, been underrepresented in our teachings as it's come to the West to some extent, as a personal favorite of mine, and I think really clearly points out the ability of the Satipaṭṭhāna to develop both samatha, vipassana, as well as quelling of sensuality, quelling of sensual desire, because the 32 parts of the body is just in itself, if you just do the recitations, it's a very settling, soothing, cooling form of developing samatha. When you reflect on the way that the body works and the fact that it's almost an automatic. The body has its own life. It's an automatic set of responses, and really pretty much operates without a whole lot of input from us. We're pretty much not under our control, except for little bits and pieces of the influence that we can offer by supporting it in different ways. But the insight that you can develop into not self, as well as the changeability, in a sense, the vipassana aspect of it, as well as the cooling of sense desire, so that we're not controlled by the forces of greed and wanting and sense desire. Very comprehensive teaching, contemplation of the body, but also the cemetery contemplations, the disposition of a corpse as it goes through its deterioration phases, and the insight and calmness and peace and non-attachment that can develop around contemplations of the body. So a very rich set of contemplations that we'll have some time to explore. Second category of contemplation, Vedananupassana, of contemplation of feeling tones, which is really important. The themes of, or the feeling tones of pleasant, unpleasant, and neutral, or neither pleasant nor unpleasant. Those qualities that are pervasive in all of our experience, pretty much any contact with the sense realm or the experiences of body and mind as they arise, all have some sort of feeling tone associated with them. And not seeing those clearly, absorbing into those feeling tones, always seeking the pleasurable experience, trying to avoid the unpleasant experience, and being pretty much ignorant of the neutral experience, is what will ignite the forces of wanting, desire, and aversion, anger, irritation, and confusion, anxiety, fear. These feeling tones and our reactions to them, and what the mind does to either get something or get away from something or tend to be confused by something. These are very potent forces, and the more we understand them, the more we don't fall for those underlying tendencies of those feeling tones. So Vedananupassana, a very useful contemplative tool, not only in sitting meditation, but in our daily life, watching those forces arise and how we buy into them and respond to them. That's the second foundation, or the second establishing of mindfulness. The third, Chittanupassana, looking at the various qualities of heart, mind itself, and oftentimes, those qualities are things that we're not so aware of, but bringing into theme. What actually is the quality, the state of mind that we're absorbing into? The various qualities of, expansive states of mind or contracted states of mind, the various tensions and delusions that course through the mind, that color the experience of the mind. And then the attention itself, that it gets pulled out into the realm of the senses. Our mind leaving its home base of clarity and neutrality and being pulled through the sense bases out of itself and into the world of delusion. So the movement of mind, the quality of mind, the mood of the mind as a contemplative theme. And then the fourth Satipaṭṭhāna, Dhammanupassana, of a wide variety of contemplative themes that the Buddha instructed us to bring up for regular contemplation. The five all of those, including the five hindrances, the five khandhas, contemplative themes around the different khandhas of body and mind, the aggregates, the six sense bases, and the seven factors of enlightenment. And then to wrap it up in its comprehensiveness is the Four Noble Truths and all the contemplations that derive from that, which is essentially just about everything. The Four Noble Truths being sort of the elephant's footprint. All the teachings can be put into that category of the Four Noble Truths. So it kind of neatly wraps it all up into one whole. So this is the themes of contemplation that the Satipaṭṭhāna offers, and to kind of limit the expression of sati as being this kind of choiceless, choiceless attention to only what is arising and passing in the present moment, does some disservice. As you can see, most of the contemplations are very active, engaged contemplations through the Satipaṭṭhāna. So keeping in mind that these are the themes for a contemplative experience or contemplative life, we develop the sense of clear seeing, and the strength of mind, the clarity of mind, to be able to shift our attention, to relinquish, to move into to the experience of letting go, of a relinquishment, and open to the clarity of clear vision and understanding that leads us to this sense of turning away from the realm of the conditioned and towards the unconditioned. So that's a broad brush introduction, kind of the survey course of Satipaṭṭhāna in a nutshell, and serving. I think that we'll all be branching out over the next 3 months from the general to the more specific, and really delving into some of these deep contemplations to support our development of the path. So I'll just end the reflection there, and we decided that there's not a whole lot of time left tonight, because I kind of rambled on for a while. It's 6:40, but if there's anybody that does have any particular question for clarification or any thought, please feel free to voice that now, and we'll see where we go with that.
Just about expansive mind. I never quite understand that.
Okay, like expansive versus contracted, or that's coming from the third foundation of mindfulness, contemplation of mind, citta nupassana, that third section, and it's basically one of the qualities that one can experience, one can have what would be like, say, an expansive state of mind, which is a very broad, open state of awareness. And some of the higher, what one would call the higher states of meditative attainments would be considered very expansive states of mind, like moving beyond the four jhana states and into the states of like the experience of unlimited space, unlimited consciousness, neither perception nor non-perception, or I missed nothingness, no thingness. Those samapatis, they call, are developments of mind that are very enlarged and well beyond our normal sense experience, moving into realms of very expanded states of awareness, is, I think, what is often referred to as expanded states of mind. Also, like its opposite being more contracted or distracted states of mind that are kind of smaller states of mind, in a sense. So there's a wide variety of terms within that Satipaṭṭhāna, the Citta Nupassana, that describe the various qualities of different states of mind that one can experience depending on the form of attention and development of certain faculties.
I was thinking about not thinking, but asking myself about the relationship between the precepts that were mentioned yesterday and sati, mindfulness, and sila in general. Mm-hmm. Could you expand on it, Ajahn?
In the relationship to mindfulness, sati? Yeah. If you think of the word sati as rooted in remembering or recollecting, which is its basic root, then being aware of and recollecting the precepts, the sila, that develops that kind of foundation of clarity is essential. And you can't really develop to a very large extent anyway these themes of Satipaṭṭhāna to any level of fruition if you are not following these basic precepts, because the mind just gets so distracted and off track if you have a mind that's constantly involved in say trying to get what it wants through means that are harmful to yourself or to other people, taking life, or stealing, or false speech, taking advantage of others in sexuality. These are all activities that really prevent someone from being able to developing a path that leads towards relinquishment. So remembering, using your sati to constantly check, how am I doing with my precepts? And to be aware of, when you do break a precept, to be aware of the state of mind that results from that. Well, what does that feel like? I have to live with the memory of this now. How does that affect my, meditation practice, for instance, or just the feeling of how I relate to other people? What does that feel like? And the level of agitation and disruption that results from that. So that's using sati, recollection, to evaluate, and that's also where sampajanya comes in terms of the greater experience of it all. So it's sort of like, okay, well, what is the overall effect of this in my heart? What's the suitability of engaging in these kinds of activities that bring pain to myself and to others? So, yeah, it's definitely a very important part of what we bring into our hearts, into our minds, recollecting those precepts. Anybody, Lumpa or anyone else, Ajahn Chunda, have any comments around that or any of these other themes? Okay, well, it's 6:45 now, so we take 15 minutes and gather our wits and come back for evening puja.